Hey guys, it's Brittany. Welcome back to my channel, Under the Radar Books. Today I'm going to be doing my February wrap-up. And the first book that I read in February was Mr. Splitfoot by Samantha Hunt. This just recently came out. I checked it out from the library and I had a lot of hype going into it, I think. I had heard quite a lot of good things about it. It had been compared to some of my favorite authors, so I was really excited about it. And I gave it 4 stars in the end. It didn't completely blow me away, but I did not like it. I felt like in a lot of ways it reminded me of a YA book just because there wasn't a lot of in-depth character development. There weren't really any hard-hitting like subjects or themes. So it was definitely a quick, just kind of fun read. The ending felt a little bit rushed to me. It was definitely still enjoyable, and I will absolutely continue to follow Samantha Hunt's books, and there's a couple that I own that I want to read that she has previously released, so I'm definitely excited to see what else she has in store for us. I would recommend Mr. Splitfoot, but definitely go into it thinking about it more as like just a enjoyable read and less of a literary fiction read. Next up, I read ApocalyptiGirl, and this is by Maclean, and this is a graphic novel about a young girl who returns to a planet similar to Earth to try to retrieve this power device that is missing, and she ends up staying on the planet for around 6 years trying to find this device. She's hiding underground in a old subway, and there's 2 warring almost like tribes that are living on the surface of the planet, so she's kind of having to hide from them and still try to find this device. And the tribes have no technology and they speak very little of her language, if not any at all, and so there's no way for her to safely communicate with them. I think the best part is that the character is really like a badass female character. She has a cat named Jelly Beans who's like her sidekick, and it's just a really great story. It's definitely really innovative, different from what I've read before. I gave this one 4 stars as well, and I really wanted more. Like, I think it's just a standalone, but I would love if he made, you know, a series, and there's definitely a lot of wiggle room to add more stories onto it, so I don't know, I guess it's possible, but definitely recommend this one. Next up, I read The New Ghost by Robert Hunter, and this is a really short, just graphic novel novella, and I think I saw this on Mercedes' channel, I'm not positive though, but it has really cool artwork, and it is about a man who is a new ghost, and he's trying to figure out the ropes of being a part of the afterlife and how that works, and it's really just a beautiful little graphic novel. I gave it 3 stars. It's hard to give something this tiny more than that, I feel like, because you just want more to the story. But yes, I love the artwork, and it's a very cool thing to own. I definitely can see myself reading it again. Next, I did a buddy read of the Book of Strange New Things with quite a few booktubers, and this was a difficult one for me. I definitely went into it thinking that it would be something that I would absolutely love. I love the premise of the story. It is about a future where Earth has depleted a lot of its resources, and in order to find some more, they're trying to go to other planets to find these resources. And the main character is Peter, and he is a preacher, I guess you would say, and he is sent to this planet to bring religion to the native people that live there, the alien race. And so him and his wife Beatrice are separated, and while he is on this planet bringing religion to the aliens, his wife is back on Earth, and she is dealing with a lot of things that are going wrong with Earth. There's lots of natural disasters and crime and things that are happening, and there's this big separation between them, and struggles with their marriage, and a lot of the book is letters back and forth between them. It was interesting, and it's not that I didn't like it. I just feel like it was very slow. I felt like it could have been half the size that it was and still had the same amount of impact. A lot of it felt unnecessary. I originally gave it 2 stars, but I feel like I still think about it and I would definitely recommend it to people, so I want to say that it's probably up to 3 stars at this point. I definitely want to read more of Michel Faber's books. All of the other ones sound just as interesting, and I know that people who didn't like Book of Strange New Things liked a lot of his other books, so I definitely want to explore that. And I'm interested to see if any of you guys have read it and how you felt about it. I know that In the buddy read that we did, quite a few people felt the same way. We didn't enjoy it as much as we had hoped that we would. So I'm curious to see what you guys thought of it, if you have read it, or if you want to pick it up. I'd love to talk about it at a later date. Next, when I was at the library, I was browsing the nonfiction books about books, which I love to read, and I found this awesome book called The Public Library, a Photographic Essay by Robert Dawson, and it's really cool. It's like a photographic history of the public libraries, and it has libraries all over the country, and it was just really fascinating. It had a lot of author blurbs about why libraries are important to them and why we need to keep supporting them, and just how important they are to our communities and society in general. So I raced through it. I think I read it in one sitting. It was really, really interesting. I would definitely recommend it if you were a library lover. The photographs are fantastic. It's so interesting to see the wide variety of libraries that there are. There's some that are just so tiny, and then some that are massive, and it was just really, really fascinating. Next up, I finished American Housewife, short stories by Helen Ellis, and I gave this one 4 stars. I loved it so much. It is just such a quirky little short story collection. It's a very, very fast read. The book is really tiny and the font is pretty big, but all of the stories follow different women and their struggles that they have, but they're just so quirky and funny, and they touch on a lot of real life things that housewives and moms and working women kind of deal with. There's lots of satire, and it was just hilarious. There were many times that I was just laughing out loud. I think my favorite story was called Dumpster Diving with the Stars, which is a play on Dancing with the Stars, but basically it's about a author who joins a reality TV show where they try to find the best bargains at flea markets and garage sales and things like that, and it was just brilliant. I loved it so much. So it's dark and funny and excellent. So I cannot recommend it enough. It might be my favorite short story collection I've read this year. So definitely go pick that one up. Next, I picked up Alex and Ada Volume 2 by Jonathan Luna. And once again, I just love this graphic novel series so much. I didn't like the second one as much as the first, but I still give it 4 stars because I just think the story is so good. And it's amazing that there's not a lot of like action and things that are happening within the graphic novel, but the story is so compelling and it just draws you in and you feel so much for the characters, and I just can't wait to see where the storyline goes. Next, I did a buddy read of Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell with Kelly over at What Kelly Reads. This was another one that was just kind of odd for me. I think I'm probably going to give it 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. I did kind of feel like, once again, it was just a little bit too long. I really like the structure of it. If you don't know what this is about, it follows, I believe it's 6 different lives and how they connect. They're from all different time periods. And it starts out where it's the first person, the next person, and it goes through. And then the middle section is an entire section of a person's story. And then it goes back the other way, ending with the first story that you started with. So I like the layout of it. I like the idea. It's amazing how everything kind of interconnected, and as you're going along, you're realizing how all these stories are playing together. It touches on a lot of big themes, like how as humans we tend to destroy the earth and destroy humanity, and it's really fascinating in that way. It almost feels like it's like a circular storyline, like it could, you know, start and end in the same place. I don't know if that makes sense. I would definitely recommend it. I'm very excited to read more of David Mitchell's stories. I think I will pick up The Bone Clocks next. But yeah, I would definitely be interested to reread this also, now that I kind of have gotten the feel for how the storyline works and how the layout is. It's difficult because each storyline has such a different type of language and writing style that it's hard to get into it, and then it just kind of abruptly ends, and so then you feel like you fall out of that story and then have to pick up into another story. So it feels a little bit confusing and disjointed at parts. I think maybe that was so hard for me to get invested in it. But I'm definitely glad that I read it, and I'm looking forward to discussing it more with some other people who have read it as well. Next up, I read The Vegetarian by Han Kang. This is translated from Korean by Deborah Smith. And this was definitely my favorite read of the month, hands down. It's difficult to say that this is something that I enjoyed because it is extremely dark and very haunting and disturbing. It's not for the faint of heart, but it was just absolutely absorbing and compelling. It's been so long since I've read a book that I just could not stop thinking about, didn't want to put down. I read it in a day. and I still think about it all the time. I honestly want to reread it already, which is really saying something. If you don't know what this is about a young woman who has a very estranged marriage. Her husband is honestly horrible. He's a misogynist and he's very selfish, and she's very docile and kind of just goes along with everything that he wants to do. And one night she has a horrible nightmare and decides that she wants to become a vegetarian. And her family doesn't take it well, her husband doesn't take it well, and it's kind of her downward spiral. And you can't tell whether she is crazy, she's losing her mind. You question a lot of the narrators. There's 3 sections, and each section is from a different family member's point of view, which is really, really interesting. I don't want to give too much away, but it is just absolutely haunting and brilliant. So please, please pick this up. And then I just finished Another Day by David Levithan, and this is the companion novel to Every Day. And I've been wanting to read this since it came out. I found this arc at a thrift store, so I just picked it up for a really good price and decided to finally get to it. I love the book Every Day. It is about a young boy who every single day he wakes up inside of a different body. And it's very interesting. David Levithan touches on so many wonderful subjects and topics throughout his books, like sexuality and gender and body image and just things that all people struggle with, especially teenagers. So I think it's really important in the YA genre to have books like these. And basically, in Every Day, this young boy finally meets a girl and he doesn't want to let her go. He falls in love with her, and he basically tells her the truth about himself and finds her every day, no matter what body he is in, and they build a relationship together. So in Another Day, it is from the girl's point of view. It's the same story, but it's just from her perspective, which is really interesting. But of course, it felt quite repetitive. I think that nothing can touch that feeling that I got when I read Every Day, just because I felt like it was so revolutionary and so different and powerful and touched on so many different things that when I read this, it just felt like a lot of the same type of thing. So I gave this one 2 stars in the end. And I just feel like it's not necessary to read it. It doesn't really add very much to the everyday story. So I really wish that instead of writing a companion novel, David Levithan would have just wrote maybe a sequel or a continuation of the story, because there's definitely room for that from where Every Day finishes up. So this one was a little bit disappointing for me. And then I just started this one, Upright Beast by Michel, and this was sent to me by Coffee House Press, and I'm really excited. It's a short story collection with magical realism stories in it. I read the first story and I absolutely love it so far, so I'm really, really excited. This is my first book that I'm picking up for the Underhyped Readathon, which started yesterday. So I'm hoping to finish this today, and I have a couple more books that I'm hoping to get to. This only has like 100 and some ratings on Goodreads, so definitely underhyped. I'm really excited to see where else it goes. So that's everything that I read in February. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on these books, and if you have read them or if you want to read them. I also want to know how your Februarys went. Did you have a successful month? What was your favorite book that you read? Please leave me some comments down below. And if you haven't already, I actually started an Etsy shop, and that is linked below as well, so go check it out if you haven't yet. And thank you to everyone who has shouted out my new store or bought something from me. I really, really, really appreciate it, and I'm just so passionate about this. So I love sharing my love of reading with other people, and it just makes me really happy. So until next time, happy reading, guys.